Hi everybody, welcome to tonight's live map making session. Hope you're all good. Had a good day, or having a good day, still having a good day ahead of you, wherever you are. And hope you're looking forward to our little jaunt into the forest, into the woods tonight. Thank you, Sue. Good to hear that you can hear me. And let's see what I can tell you tonight. As always, if you've got any questions during the mapping session, do post it in the chat. Lots of helpful mappers there who are gonna answer stuff, and if possible, I'll also be happy to show anything on screen that Sue will forward to me in questions. So don't hold back if you've got anything that vexes you. All right. So let's see, what do we want to do today? I've been mapping a bit for my own games, and it happens to be Mirkwood of Middle-earth. And that obviously requires a lot of forest and woods mapping, lots and lots and lots of trees. And we've been playing around a little bit with the tools for that in the Mike Schley style, and I thought that might make a pretty good topic, especially for more beginning mappers. And it was time that we did take a look a bit of beginning maps again. How to not simply put down a great big blob of trees, and instead see that you can vary the layout a bit and make it interesting despite having lots of tree symbols on the map. Alright, so let's see where we go. I do have one map like this already done that served up my inspiration, but where I think I can still improve a little bit on, and this is the one I have on screen here at the moment, of the west-north eastern edge of Mirkwood with Erebor and the Long Lake and everything. And I want to create an adjacent map to that. Eventually I want to map the whole area in more smaller maps like this one, instead of the one I have prepared. Let me see, where are we? No, that's the wrong one. Here we go. This is the overall map of the area I have created, and you can see I've already mapped out in detail this section here, and now I want to go on and create a map for this section. And I've already in previous videos I've shown how to take stuff from a larger map and extract things and make a smaller map from that. If I remember that, I'll put a link to that video in the description later. And I've already prepared the one I want to work on, so I don't have to redo this here on screen. Well, actually, I'm gonna go back to this one and then open it, and here's the other map. And this is basically what I've extracted from the original map, the larger one. And as you see, there's not that much left. I've already changed the mountain symbols over to the Mike Schley style, and I've just left the general layout where I had my big forest areas in the bigger map. And these I want to elaborate on in this mapping session. And for that, I'll start off by looking at my edges of the other map. They should fit together a little bit, and see where I did what I had in here. So basically this is the area this is connecting to, and I'm thinking of whether I should actually copy stuff over just to, well, let's give that a try. Just a little excursion of transferring stuff from one map to another, especially if you're connecting edges. So I'm gonna use the clipboard by pressing Ctrl C, and I'm gonna select the edge of the map here, but I do not want the overall map area, and I also don't want the text, so I'm saying combine not entity type to the text, and I also don't want the compass bar, and I also don't need the rivers here, or the road. And now I'm gonna say do it, and now I need an origin, and for that I'm gonna grab a reference point, the river here, that I'll also have on the other map. And now I need to open the new map I've been working on in my video folder for Fantasy Streams, Forest and Woodlands, the Mirkwood map. And here I'm going to insert the stuff I've... Oh, no, the reference point is not the road through Mirkwood, but this river here. There we are. And here we do have the general connection of these together. And to have that in its special location that I can easily remove later, I'm just going to move to sheet all the prior stuff I've just inserted. I don't need to have it on its special sheets or anything, because it's all going to be deleted later anyway. And I'm going to put it on the temp sheet. This way I can also see it, where it is. And now I can delete a little bit what I don't need, get out of the way. Rivers and the forest background. A little bit here at the top of the map. And at the bottom. And that way I generally know where stuff is gonna be and what kind of forest I have to connect to other areas and so on. Good. First step done. Now to see how we are gonna create the forest here on this map. I do have the general backgrounds already. I might even also put these, because I'll be recreating forest areas, and the backgrounds should probably be done in here together with the other forest tools. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use change properties. I'm going to make these fairly visible color and fill style of hollow. And I'm going to also put them on the temp sheet. So they just show me where my forest is supposed to go. Or perhaps let's change the color to something that's more easily visible versus the background there. Well, that's better. All right. So let's take a look at a general forest area first. Just some big badge of trees. What can we do with that? And for that, I'll have a look here at what I've done here. And this is actually up here is mixed forest fill. I can see there's conifers and deciduous trees mixed together. This is just deciduous trees, and this is a mixture again with down here going into all coniferous trees, pines. So what I can do is I'm going to start up with the mixed area up here and have a look how this goes. So if I put just a default first mixed area here next to the river. There we go, and you see it looks fairly nice, except here on the right side, then it doesn't go right across the border, and I've obviously drawn it a little bit too close to the river, because I've got my trees overlapping the river, and that doesn't look very good. So I'm already thinking I do need to keep a little bit more distance to the river to make this look good. But there's also other options. I might perhaps add a little bit of mixed forest area on the other side of the river. I could obviously do that with the second option, but how about if I do that in one go? So let's undo first. Actually, I should, before I lose anything through not working autosave, I'm gonna close the second instance of Campaign Cartographer in the background and try to remember to regularly save on the map. Okay, oops. What did I do there? Why did it close here? Okay, already something unintended happened. Alright, so we've missed stuff. Oops. Let's see whether we can restore stuff with the autosave setting. No, obviously not. We've got another one saved. Alright, I'm sorry about that. Don't know what happened there. Did I misclick something, or did I just something crash? Nothing, didn't get any indication or anything. That was weird. Alright. Unfortunately, we've not been too long in the making, so I'm just going to open my Mirkwood map again and my Daylands map. I'm gonna copy the same stuff again. By not entity type text. Okay, do it, and my insertion point here is on the river. Now I'm going to switch back here, zoom in, river here as well, move everything to the temp sheet. Okay, now make sure, close this one here. Don't save it this time, save this one. Okay, something weird is going on here. I think I found some kind of more nasty stuff. Why does it close Campaign Cartographer if I've just tried to save there? Alright, so that's bad. Sorry about that. See whether we can. This clipboard is empty now. Yeah, I should have saved that. Just wanna. Well, I think it does make sense. I need to more investigate this more closely tomorrow if I've got more time for that and not lots of people looking over my shoulder. So I'm going to leave that at this for the moment. I have to investigate why that just crashes after, or closes silently after I've copied stuff into the map. And gonna just continue with the mapping here, because I generally know where I want the different forests now anyway. At least I can recreate this. This is good for tracing stuff like that. At least I have a way to fairly reliably recreate this problem. So let's see how we go here tonight, and whether we then later can figure out what's going wrong. So I was about to draw a mixed forest area, and this time I wanted to draw across the river. Say I'm just starting here, and then I want to draw across the river like this. And this is, of course, well, we do have the forest going right across the river. I'm thinking I might be able to perhaps delete some symbols here. I want to clear the way for the forest. Give this a quick try. I'm going to freeze everything but the vegetation layer. So I'm only working on the vegetation layer, and I'm not selecting anything else. And then have a look what I can delete here. Now I'm already seeing there's big chunks of trees. If I delete those, I can clear my river, but I get these weird straight borders without any tree trunks. And that's because the forest tool creates the forest layout out of these block sections of the tree, and these are all one bitmap, so I can't delete individual trees. I can, of course, now go in here and place individual trees again, but I'm thinking there should be a better option. So what I'm gonna take a look at, I'm gonna undo this, and perhaps just a little excursion here. You've seen that this is the forest I've drawn, and undoing it is 2 steps. The first steps reduces gets rid of the symbols, and the second of the background. That's because the drawing tool consists of 2 commands basically that it does. First I draw the polygon shape, and then a macro runs the forest, so places all the forest symbols, or runs the command that places the forest symbols, and that way I have 2 steps that I need to undo to get rid of everything. Alright, so but we do have, I wanted to draw a forest and leave the river clear, and for that I do have a second option here in the draw. What we've been doing so far is the symbols, this is the fill with symbols command. This is with the vegetation fillers with the mixed forest setting for Mike Schley, but I do have a version of the command that at least lets me exclude areas. So let's give that a try. And for that, I first need to select the entities I want to exclude. And for that, I need to show my water, throw my water overlays layer. I can do it. No, sorry, I'm a bit ahead of the curve here. That's because the command only is the second part. I do need to keep the forest area around, or first need to create the forest background. For that, I'll just use the forest background tool. It's one of the terrain tools here, terrain default forest back. And with that, I will draw my forest area. Here we go. And now I'm going to use the fill with symbols, exclude areas. First going to select the entity I want to fill, do it, and then select the entities I want to exclude. And then I can see I do get a section here that is excluded, but the problem is that it's just a small area because it's just the line of the rivers and the trees don't quite far away from enough from the river to exclude this area. So what we need a larger area to exclude here. And we can do that by first drawing an outline for the river, which I like to do anyway, a darker background for the river, using the marsh section for that. And having a polygon will also make the exclusion area work much better. Why is the river purple? That's because it's been selected and not properly unselected again. If I select it first and then cancel the command again, it will be its normal color again. It's just the selection color hasn't been cleared, and a reload of the map would do the same thing as well. That's just a temporary display issue. The river has not actually been set to the magenta color. Alright, so I've got my outline for the river now. And now I'm going to do my symbols, fill the symbols, exclude area. Again, the object I want to fill, do it, the exclusion area, do it, and there we are. Much better now. Now we have a much nicer defined area of the river that's not covered with trees. And here I can now go in and load up the vegetation catalog, go down to my tree symbols and fill out the area with a few more individual trees. Same on the southern side of the river. And then I'm going to fill out the space towards the map border here, also with some pine trees. After all, we have a mixed forest area. And that's much better. Also, if you're at the upper edge of forest, you can always use the fill symbols without the tree. Doesn't really matter much. And symbols, sort symbols and map, to put them all in the correct order again. Very nice. And if you know that I've obviously made several attempts here at first, just to show what happens if you just straight out cover things with trees and try stuff. But if you know what you're doing and just define your area around the river first, which you want to exclude from the first tool, that makes things a lot easier. Alright, so I've got that, and now I want to connect the forest here with another type of forest. I want to do that. I want to transition into a purely deciduous forest area here, and for that I'm just gonna grab the tool. I can either go through the drawing tools option here, or I can also always go through the option in the symbol catalog that starts the same tool. It's just two different ways to access the tool. Here we go, and for that I'm just gonna overlap the area slightly with the areas I have. Build my forest here, and there we go, and then do the sort symbols and map by vegetation layer, or I could have just done everything because I've mostly only have the vegetation layer thought anyway. And this way you can see there's really no noticeable gap between the different types of forests. They just neatly transition into each other. So if you just overlap the edges a little bit of these tools, they will fit together nicely once you've ordered all the symbols. And also same thing if you've been doing sections of the forest in individual pieces with the drawing tools, you can just overlap the same kind of tool again to cover up the edges. say if I'm thinking I should have done more mixed forest tools here, I'll just overlap that, go all the way to the road, and there we are. Don't even need to do much sorting here. So that looks pretty nice, already a good way to fill large areas with trees. Let's have a look how that looks if I do a great big area with trees now. I'm just thinking I just want deciduous forest here, the area where my trees are supposed to go. And I fill the whole area just with trees. Works fine, technically, but you'll see as soon as you start filling too large areas with all the same stuff, you get a repeating pattern. You can see this a little bit in the forests here, and it does look kind of boring. It's just a huge expanse of trees without any difference or so. It's going to be a boring map if you're looking at it, a bit repetitive, and so that's not something we want to do, and we're going to undo this. All right. So just seen a question by Versus in the chat, how to set up such a forest drawing tool. Well, I may get around to it a little bit. I can show you a little bit of an easier one. But in general, setting up the forest drawing tool like this is a little bit more work, because you need to create the trees with the different forest sections and stuff. But there's some other stuff that you can do to speed up things, other tools you can set up more easily with new symbols, and I'll show you in a minute. Alright, so first off, I want to create a little bit of varied areas. For example, I want to create a marshy area, basically mostly forest, but there's some marsh spaces and boggy ground. And how do I depict that? First off, we should put down some matching ground. Let's grab the marsh background and just fill out an area with that. There we go. Yeah, we have a nice background. But if I draw a forest on top of that, it's going to be all basically gone. There's not going to be any spaces where you can see the background. So we do need something else. Fortunately, we do have some stuff that we have in the drawing tools, which we've created a while ago. Woodlands symbols, like here, orchards, swamplands, woodlands, this one here. And this does create some scatter trees. Just for a quick example, let's draw an area, outline an area. Oh, I grabbed the jungle version there, but you can see it does scatter some trees across this area. Just click. Let's have again. I did click the jungle. I should actually click the woodlands here. They are very scattered here, and let's have a look at our tool. Let's go in here. I think that's because I'm working at the 0.25 symbol scale, and the tool is set up to work with a symbol scale of 1. So let's have a look, and this uses the symbols in area tool. See, we're seeing the vegetation symbols again. And there's the distances here that define how far away stuff is in the minimum distance. And let's just divide this by 4, everything. And the same with the minimum distance here. And let's have a look how that looks if I just now click the swamp area or the marsh area. And there you can see it does fill the area with trees, but we can see some of the background behind it. It's a bit too dense for my taste. So what I'm going to redo this, draw, fill the symbols, and say hi to Asa. She's coming up on the desk. Hi there. Yes. Say hi, Asa. Good girl. And not fill the symbols, sorry. I'm symbols in area. And let's make double this. 3, 3, 3. And minimum distance of 3. Okay. Try this again. I guess we should be somewhere in between there. This is still a bit too far apart from my taste, so let's make that 2, 2, 2, 2, and 2 here. It looks fairly good. We might even reduce the change to place, so we do get a little bit more variation in the overall look, hopefully. Yes, we've got some more spaces here that are a little bit further apart, and I quite like that. Since I've overlapped this with the other forest here quite a bit, I now need to sort symbols again. Oops, symbols, sort symbols in map, everything. And now we've got this nicely set up. See, we've got the more spaced out stuff here. And we can now take the normal tool for deciduous and create an area around that with denser trees just north of the road here. And this way we do have a nice area where we've got a little bit more spaced out trees, and we can see a background there. We can now go in and just fill out the area a little bit with individual trees to do some more variation, so it doesn't look all the same. You might even at this point put on some of the strange trees we have from the monthly symbols, for example some giant fungus. Missing. Oh, that's the varicolor version. There we are. And here, alien tree, carnivorous plant, and then go again, sort symbols and map, all of them. And now we have that nice setup here. All right, good. So much, and now I want to show first how to set up a tool like the Woodlands tool here that lets you scatter different trees like this, because we just want the same kind of tool, but we do want to change the fill style, the kind of symbols we fill with that. And for that, we are gonna do draw symbols in area. And I'm gonna save the setting as a new setting. See, these end with the sim fill ending here. I'm just for convenience, I'm Gonna save it in the video folder, but normally you want to save that in your program data folder of campaign cartographer, so you can find it more easily or reference it in drawing tools and macros more easily. But for now, I'll just save it here. Just saving it first, though I'm not overwriting the original campaign cartographer setting. And then I'm gonna browse to a different catalog. Here, the Mike Schley symbols. And we're gonna go to the vegetation catalog. And we do have the alien trees in here, just from the start. I'm just gonna grab the first one of those. And important is that you check the allow random symbol selection from group, so it does randomly pick one of the alien trees each time it wants to place a symbol. And we'll just leave the same settings as we defined for the deciduous trees previously. I'm going to save the setting again to save all our changes. Okay. And now I first actually need to draw an area where I want to fill with my. I can use the forest background for that. Say I wanted that here, south of the road, and then draw symbols in area. Okay, and there's my trees. And if you place them close enough together, they'll make up a nice, varied, nicely covered forest area right from the start. Again, you can go in and place some normal trees along the edges, or even inside at some points. Then go in and say where's our fungus here? Let's put in a couple of those and then sort our symbols. And they sort nicely into the whole thing. And that way you can set up your own tools like that. And one more step, if you wanted to make a drawing tool from that, you can, then it's normally easiest to just go to the advanced section of the drawing tools, take a drawing tool that does what you want in general, like the Woodlands deciduous here, create a copy, call it turn default alien trees. The outline will be the forest tool like this. You just need to edit the macro that calls. Here you would then need to name this alien tree, the setting you've set there, and have the setting in the appropriate folder of the program data directory. And then it would work like the other tools. First is asking whether you could also mix different types of trees with that. Yes, but you do need to make a special selection of these trees that work as a symbol group. Basically, you have to make clones or copies of these symbols, name them in one group together. You see, if I go into Symbols Manager, the trees are normally in, or actually I should probably look at this here. Trees, deciduous trees are a group of trees that all have the same name except for a different number at the end. See a deciduous tree 1 to 6. And you need such a group of the symbols you want. Can be larger, it's not limited to 6, can be any size as long as they all have the same name and then consecutive numbers. are arranged all together in your symbol catalog. So it's normally easiest to create your own special symbol catalog for the symbols you want in your Wood tools and name them accordingly, then reference them with your symbols in area command, and that way you can mix and match any type of trees together that you want. You can't do it from the default trees that come with the catalogs because they all have different names and will make up a symbol collection together. All right, but I'm really getting too far away from my foresty tools here. Sorry, that's certainly not beginner stuff. All right, so I've got these special symbols. I want to create a few more trees here and grab my normal deciduous tree tool, overlap this, and fill out the general area south of the road. Yes, as Sue says, it's a good idea to look for Remy's instructions, blog posts or videos there. He's done stuff like that in the past. And now I want to get into the hills. I want to create more of a hilly forest area where I see some symbols, and I've got forests interspersed with bare hills or even mountains. And how I'm going to do that. There's a couple different ways to do that. One of the ways is to take some mountain symbols here. Look, I want some foothills. Foothills sounds great. And I'm going up to the mountains of Mirkwood here. I'm going to place some foothill areas. And there we are. You'll see the trees are already on top of the hill symbols. That's because the symbols in this style all have their own sheet. They go on symbol sheet behind or after the symbols, and they will always be on top. That makes it a lot easier to work with that. But sometimes you might want to do something special there. I'm going to show you how to change a little bit like that in a moment. And now the easiest thing here is just to scatter some forest trees across the area. So let's have a look. I could even, I think, show you a bit of an example of a mixed tree catalog. For example, if I take a look at the mixed forest tool here and draw a bit of a section. That is an example of a tool that does scatter different types of trees together. Let's have a look. Symbols, draw, fill with symbols. It actually no, it does use different names because the forest will work together a little bit similar. This one is, let's have a look at whether I have got a woodland symbol, so that's mixed. No, actually I haven't set up a tool like that for this tool, for this style, so can't show you a direct example of mixing different symbols together. Okay, sorry about that. Something to do in the future. I'm just going to grab some pine trees here and scatter them across here. I can also, good way to do a little bit larger area of trees is using these collections of pre-drawn trees. Same one with the deciduous ones. And then use the single trees and just go wild. Fill the area like this. Oh, I hit the text command there on the left side. And now I'm going to do my usual sort symbols. Again, all of them. Save this. And you can see now the hills are nicely visible below that, and that looks fairly good. What if I've now got a section here and I want to show some trees behind the mountains? I want to grab basically a cop symbol like this and place it here, and it should look like the forest is going up to the mountain from the other side. That doesn't work on this because they are on different sheets, and I can't send this symbol behind the mountain on this as long as they're on the same sheets. So obviously I do need different kind of sheet or a new sheet. So I'm gonna add symbols trees back and put this above or behind the symbols sheet. And now I can, as long as I am actively on that sheet here, that's my currently selected sheet, marked by the checkbox, refresh, I can grab a pine copse, place this here, and the symbols will appear behind them, the mountains. Same here, same here. The only problem you'll run into once we are getting up here, let's say I place a symbol here, then the normal trees will be visible in front of the ones I just placed. Well, no way around that, unless if we wanted to change that, we would need to start from and stagger different sheets in succession on top of each other. But that's normally a bit too much effort. What you can do, just be careful on these little pieces and not overlap the normal symbols with the top of these trees. You can easily overlap them with the bottom. That works fine. So same, have some trees growing on the mountains of the other side, or something like this here. And that, yes, of course, if I do change to the correct sheet first, I need to go to symbols trees and then place the mountains, or any, really, even if I am on any sheet here normally. I go the coastline sheet. If I click the symbol now, because it wants to go on a sheet with symbols trees at the start, it does go through to that default sheet. And this way we can build our symbols here. Let's move these to my symbols trees back sheet, not the mountain though. Go symbols trees back. Current sheet. Copse here. And then I'm going back to my, well, actually I could place a few more here. Go symbols, sort symbols and map. Go to my normal symbols trees sheet and place some, making sure I don't have an overlap here. Well, actually I might put them over here, so I'm cleaning up this section a little bit. It's not hardly going to be noticeable later. Sort symbols and map, all of them. And this way I can nicely intersperse the trees with the mountain symbols and make sure I do have a look like the mountains are very wooded, and the forest extends all around them and up their sides. This way I'm going to continue. Well, actually here I don't want to place them on top of the mountain, on the mountain top. more visible. So I make sure I stay up there. Fill the area with more trees. And that way, my mountains are blending nicely with the forest together into the main tree area. All right, so almost through what I wanted to show you here. A couple more things. For example, you might want to have a little more obvious or more trees that do look like they are completely wooded and not bare trees poking out of the forest. So what you can do there is work with a little bit with the, oh, I'm on the same wrong style. Let's get back. Easier to do it like this. There we are again. And use a dark green for the background color, and then take some hills in the dark green color, the vari-color versions of these trees. These, this, here we go, and a few more smaller ones down here. And then go in and start placing some more closely packed trees in here. So I'm gonna go with the Woodlands tool first. It's not in the symbol catalog because it was a later add-on. Woodlands catalog. And then I'm just gonna outline the area. Oh, and I'm in my very sparsely populated area again, because I didn't save that. So I do need to go and fill the symbols. No, in symbols in area. Here we are again with my lower. The placement here is actually fine. Let's go with 2, 2, 2, and the maximum distance 2. Select forest area. There we are. And then go in and fill this up a little bit more. Denser trees. Yeah, and just go. You see the red click point is there all the time, so I just spread these around. And finally do a sorting operation. Okay, yeah. What did I do? What happened? I was on the symbol forest, symbols trees to sheet, and that because of that, the hill symbols actually got placed on that sheet. That's why they appear like this. So what we can do is I can move to sheet by entity type symbol reference, but now by end layer and layer minerals mountains. There we go. And put these on the sheet they belong on symbols. There we are. And there you have got more darker shadowed hills. You see this switches from the darker trees, tree-covered symbols to the more open ones where you see bare ground peeking up through the trees. And there we are. Actually, I've got a few symbols down here which I don't quite like where they are. At least not the one covering the forest, the mountaintop. Not this one. Do it. Oh, another one. Clearing up the mountaintop there. And there we are. next section. And that way you can see that which is basically one big forest does not look all the same. It's got different types of trees mingled together, going out into the hills and creating a general, much more varied pattern than when you just fill the whole thing with a forest drawing tool. All right, so yes, I'm seeing that I do have some of the tree symbols that I placed earlier on top of the mountains. Let me see whether these are on the forest trees sheet or no, they are on here. That's because symbols, sort symbols and map. I don't think. I just didn't have sorted these before. There they are again. Better sorted. I've got a question from Sue whether I ever take out some of the shadowy areas to reduce patchiness. I'll definitely later remove the areas that I just had in there for the from the old map, from the guidance. And the other ones I could also just turn on sheet effects, and this will already make them a little bit more not as visible, especially along the borders. I could also just hide the forest sheet where these go on, but that will make the background, the grass background behind the trees, fairly bright compared to the trees, which I often don't like as much. If you want to clear out overlapping areas like this here, where you have two contour borders sitting on the same sheet, you can do stuff like, instead of doing the edge fade here, add a blur effect. Map units. And this way you can see that the different, you'll have a little bit darker background, but not quite as, not the straight or clear lines, and still got some darker background behind the trees, which I like. The only downside of the blur is that it does blur the bitmap texture behind it, why I normally don't do that on open areas, but if it's below the trees, basically where you don't see much of the texture anyway, that's going to be fine. For the moment, I'll keep the default settings there. And yes, you can, as Sue mentions, you can of course later remove all the stuff and just use the forest background tool to add the darker background where you want it. Good. The one thing I wanted to add is interspersing trees with structure symbols. For that, you can, let's grab one of an elven symbol here somewhere, an elven settlement. We did have one. Yeah, we've got the elven city here, which you might want to intersperse with the trees, of course. That looks fine here. If I place the tree, the city on its symbol sheet, where it goes on normally. But if I then take tree symbols, like the giant tree here, and the forest trees, try to sort everything. Let's see that the overlap here doesn't look right, because the trees are all in front of the structure symbol. What I then normally do, the easiest thing, is usually to just put the city or other structure you have on the symbols trees sheet, because then it'll sort together with the trees, and you can see the overlap is nice. The big trees behind the city are looking good. sometimes you might get a little bit of wrong overlap with trees and structure symbols, because the structure symbols can be a lot larger and hard to sort into the rest of the trees. But then you'll just need to move a few individual trees around or remove them and to get that right. And there we go. Well, I've managed about, let's say, a third of my Mirkwood area. I'll probably have to redo some of them because I don't want the alien trees in my Mirkwood. But in general, I know what I'm doing, and I've now got the basics down for how I want this to look. And I can continue my own private map from here. And I hope you learned a little bit about trees and forests and woods and how to use them and how to intersperse different types on a map to make a nice varied forest background. And can create your own maps with those techniques. Hope you enjoyed tonight's session. I'll probably not be around next week, and I need to check with Remy. Perhaps he has time if he wants to. Otherwise, I'll see you again in 2 weeks. All the best. Have a nice evening and keep up the mapping. Bye bye.